Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Talkin Kop. My name's Ashley. I'm here with Matt and Kev, and we're here to do a post-match reaction to the Manchester City 2, Liverpool 1 result at Anfield, which really was quite helter-skelter as the game came to a close there. We will get into all the juicy details, but there's no way of getting around this, Matt. That was a really, really annoying way for that game to close. Give me your thoughts right off the bat.
I mean, I think the way the game closed was slightly hilarious because it was an absolute fustercluck at the end where it stretches your belief that you have even a slight grasp on what the laws of the game are at the end. But it's a bummer to lose it like in the dying seconds of the game again, but to go from a draw to a loss isn't as big a deal as the fact that we were winning that game until the 93rd minute and we just couldn't see it over the line. That's what makes me a little bit peeved about the whole situation. The fact that we had Alisson up there, we had pulled the goalie for the extra attacker at the end and we were trying to get the win. I'm okay with that. You're going to lose the game, but we're absolutely going for broke. We know that the 3 points is more important than 1 point. And we end up losing the game. That's a bit shitty. But the simple fact of the matter is that we're 1-0 up and we're into the stoppage time at the end of the game. We have to see that game out. And it's just a penalty on Alisson. He's never going to get to that ball. He absolutely cleans out. I think it's O'Reilly that he cleans out for the penalty. And from there, it's just another example of the weak mentality of this Liverpool team.
So we're going to get through all of the nitty gritty of the last kind of goal, not goal, red card, not red card. We'll touch on that as we kind of go through the moments of the game. Kev, Matt said something there. There's ways to lose a game, and we've come up with lots of different ways to lose games this season. Every single time it's brand new and different, and I've never seen it before. This was yet another way to lose a game, but it's not a silver lining, and I don't want to paint it as such. But there are situations where you can lose a game by not trying, or you can lose a game by really being on the attacking front foot. And again, it's picking between the lesser of two evils. But for me, I'd rather lose a game by really going for it than sort of what happened when we played maybe like a Sunderland or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating to say the least to come out of that with nothing. Look, it was a game of two halves. It was a tight game, and it was a tight game. There wasn't many clear-cut, absolute belter chances for either side. Couple of chances either side, and usually that's kind of the way it goes. It's usually a mistake that costs you in these games, or the other side. If you come out on the positive side of it, it's usually a goal that you score from a mistake. And yeah, it's a sickening way to lose it from a winning position. Especially given the quality of the goal that we scored to win it, or to get on the goal sheet. It's frustrating. I'm finding it hard to go really in on this side at the minute on the back of that performance, because I think they stuck in the game in the first half. There was weird things that happened in that first half that I didn't expect, that weren't on the bingo card. In the second half, we were so much better, because certain players did things that they weren't doing in the first half. And, I think we were the better side in the second half, got ahead. And you just want to see it out. But it just felt like when they started to get control of the ball back again at about the 80th minute, you're asking for trouble, and they were always going to create one chance. But when, Matt's right, Alisson, too rash coming out, and I think it was Nunes that he clattered.
It was.
Once Nunes gets contact on the ball and the keeper takes him out of it, and the ball is still in play, it's a pen. It just is. And from being 2-1 up and fucking delighted with life to a gut punch. I mean, what happened at the end? I mean, Davies got it right. Evening cop-outs. What a game. Had clear chances to win it. The debacle at the end sums up how the game has been ruined.
We'll get to the debacle at the end. I promise.
We'll get to all of that.
Like I was just reading the Premier League Match Center just kind of released their explanation of that. It makes me even more angry, actually. So we'll get to that at the end. But Matt, let's start at the beginning. We're gonna talk through just general lineups really quick. Were there any surprises for you? Was the setup surprising to you? Was how we lined up surprising to you? Anything there?
Yeah,
No, I think it's
sorry, Matt. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, buddy.
It's not really surprising. I mean, we don't really have any forward options to call on, so we don't have any right backs to call on. Maybe the exclusion of Joe Gomez or the lack of Joe Gomez being around. But I mean, if Joe Gomez not being available to play surprises you, I wonder which Liverpool you've been watching for the last 10 years, because that's pretty stock standard. No, again, much like last week's show, I think I was more surprised at their lineup. You don't really see Pep using both Marmoush and Haaland from the start. I think it's the first time in the league this season that they've both started a match at the same time. So that was probably the only surprise. But in terms of us, no, I wasn't really surprised. We don't have a ton of options.
Yeah. Real quick, Kev, anything that surprised you there before we move on to
the lineup? No. The setup, yeah.
Okay.
Kirk's man marking Semenyo for the entirety of the first half. When you're seeing Semenyo drift into a number 10 position and Kirk's following him and sticking with him all the way through, and it paid dividends for the chance that they had early on with Haaland, where Kirk's was in that narrow position to be able to clear it. But yeah, that surprised me. That City literally gave up the right-hand side completely, and they left the whole thing free for Núñez to go up and down. Gakpo did all the donkey work because he was dropping into left back, allowing Kirkes to man mark Semenyo, and in doing that, it kind of gave them an overload in the right-hand side of midfield, with Bernardo Silva generally pulling off onto that side with Núñez, and that's kind of how they were able to maintain control. And it felt like in the first half, we were getting out in patches through trying to be direct, trying to go over the top. They held a very high line. But the first half was more about being in the game. They haven't, that's the first goal they've scored in the second half this year.
Yep.
And the way you kind of got to approach City when they're in that vein of form and they're dominating the ball is stay in it. Don't give up easy chances. And when you can get out, when you can get on the counter, try to time your runs. And that's how we tried to play the entirety of the first half. He changed it. He changed a few things in the second half when he probably got into players' ears. But yeah, Kirk's one man marking Semenyo was a big shock to me. Didn't see that one coming.
Matt, I'm going to breeze through a few incidents in the first half. There's not a ton to talk about. So 1 minute and 30 seconds in, we had Erling Haaland in on goal 1-on-1, which was sort of just a massive wake-up call. There was a bit of a mix-up in our midfield, and Ali was very quick off his line. He smothered, and Kirkes, as Kev was talking about, doing quite well in his defensive work. He was there at the very last minute and kind of picks up the scraps and clears it. And it was one of those kind of early scares that maybe 6 months ago would have gone in against us. But this felt very proactive from Alisson. It felt very proactive from Kirkes. Did that give you any sort of sense of foreboding for what was to come?
Yeah, but in retrospect, it didn't need to, because that was really their best chance, I would say, in the first half. You expect Erling Haaland to do better than that, but I also expect Alisson Becker to make that 1v1 save. It's something that we've done so many shows over the last couple of years, just being like, he's the absolute best when it comes to 1v1 goalkeeping. What I was very happy with was Kirkes defensively, because there's been a few times this season, especially in the shaky first few months, when it looked like he was a mistake of a signing, and instead he just needed some time to find his feet. So I thought Kirkes was excellent defensively today. Going forward, still a little bit more that I would like to see from him there. But yeah, in terms of that, his positioning was good. He was strong against Haaland, who he must give up 6 inches of height and 50 pounds of strength on, sort of thing. So that was really good to see him there where we need our left back to be, fighting fires, clearing the ball out of our box. A couple other times in the game, it was no nonsense stuff from Kirkes of the ball's bouncing around in and around our area, and he is just lumping that ball over his head and getting it out of danger. And that's what you want to see from your left back, because, I mean, as much as this is a bad Manchester City side, we're also a bad Liverpool side at the moment. So we need to have our defensive players making defensive contributions like that. So it looked like when that first happened, like, oh boy, we're going to be in for quite a day. But I thought we got through that first half where we were extremely passive, far too passive. We got through it without conceding a goal. And it, to me, was giving me the hopes that it was going to be a little bit of that rope-a-dope like we saw against Newcastle last week, where we let them come out and just swing themselves, into tiredness. And then we can try to attack off the back of it. And it looked like it was working until it didn't.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Kev, there was one moment around 15 minutes where Marmoush was in on goal against Konate, and there was a slight hold of Marmoush's shoulders by Konate, but I believe that he let go after not too long. I don't think that was like a clear, impactful hold, which is what they're looking for a penalty. There was a penalty check. It was cleared by our best friend, Brooks. Do you think there was anything in that penalty, or do you think that was just...
Marmoush backed into it.
Okay.
Marmoush was backing into him, initiated the contact, and then as soon as he felt the arms around him, went down, went looking for the ground. And yeah, you're never going to get those. If it's given on the pitch, even then I think it gets overturned, because as soon as you see him backing into Konate, yeah, you're not getting those. There was a more obvious one later on in the half.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to preface it because they're similar-ish. So Matt, I'm going to come to you on that second one, which is, it's at 41 minutes. So, Marmoush has a yellow card challenge on Gravenberch, and Liverpool get a free kick. So Szoboszlai gets the free kick. It goes to Virgil van Dijk, and then Mo Salah is tugged back by our favorite little rat, Bernardo Silva, in the box. Penalty claim there. He was onside. John Brooks says it was just a, quote, touch on the shoulder. Thoughts on that one?
It's just a touch. I mean, whether or not that should be given as a penalty is going to come down to bias or whatever the daily interpretation of the rules are. I'm looking forward to what should be a 4-hour-long good process show this week for you and Gav, going through all these incidents. I think at the end of the day, it was obvious from, I think, within the first 10 or 15 minutes when Nico O'Reilly was doing the human backpack job on Mo Salah. He's not getting the call. He's just not. He's not going to get those calls ever. So, yeah, you would maybe like to see, that's probably one of those incidences where you should see the referee called to the monitor so that he can have a look at the replay and run the replay again for the on-field referee and go, did you see this? Or just communicate with the referee and ask, did you see this pull on the shoulder? We think there might be a penalty here, but it's not Stonewall. Why don't you come over and have a look at it? And then he can go and have a look at it and go, you know what? That's not enough for me. That's just a touch on the shoulder. But when you see some of the other penalties that are getting given for minimal contact, it makes you kind of scratch your head. And at the end of the day, I'm a Liverpool fan. So, yeah, 100% a penalty. 100% a penalty.
You're allowed to have rose-tinted glasses on this one.
All I have. Okay.
So, Kev, at halftime, there was you sent me a text that gave me heart palpitations, which was at halftime, you were like, did Szoboszlai pull something there? Because he was hobbling down the tunnel. And then we had our favorite Mr. Burgerhead confirming that on Twitter, saying, that yes, indeed, Liverpool were worried after they saw Szoboszlai going down the tunnel with a limp. Were you worried at that point? Were there any changes that you wanted to see at halftime? Did you think he would be one of those changes?
I was just praying he'd come out for the second half, because I just looked up. I seen the halftime whistle. I looked up and I just seen him lean down, and I thought, he doesn't do that. I thought he's either taking his shin pads off, something stupid and something nothing, or he's feeling something. But yeah, he went off the pitch, and James Pearce put a comment up that he was limping down the tunnel. But as for changes, I just wanted a change in the attitude of how we were trying to attack. The thing is, you go back and watch that first half, you can see what we're trying to do. And the way City played that high line, you're looking for that one, you're looking for Hugo to run the channels but bent his run better. And there was a few times that we got caught offside, and it's something that throughout the season we haven't been doing. Normally we're very good at that, and you can see Pep Linder's fingerprints all over this Man City side with the way they press and the way that they play that high line. It's just that, I suppose, your players you can have in your back line to be able to pick those passes. Szoboszlai is one, played a couple. Virgil played a few over the top to Mo, and in fairness, Mo, the first time Mo got on one, he got a kick in the ribs and went down and got nothing. And another time he got pulled back and got nothing. So that's kind of like ruins that outlet then. So if they can literally just foul you and get away with it, it kind of takes away that threat that you do have. The other problem with how we were doing it is if Gakpo is covering at left back for Kerkez, you have to be able to keep the ball long enough for him to be able to get up the pitch to be that outlet. And that was really tough. He's not superhuman. He can't be up and down from left back to try to be up in a left attacking midfielder or a left winger's role in like 5 seconds, especially while whoever is on the ball is being pressed. So what needed to happen did happen right at the start of the second half, when you started seeing Gravenberch taking the ball and turning and going with it, carrying it 10, 15 yards, bringing other players to him, and then laying off passes. And that's what got us up the pitch. Between Gravenberch and McAllister in particular, they both carried the ball through their midfield, and that allowed others to find space. And that's how we improved in the second half.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I sent you guys at halftime a comment that basically said, we need it felt like our only kind of avenue to attack was basically this long ball over the top, bypassing the midfield with the hope that maybe Ekitike would get on the back of it. That was the whole first half plan. The second half clearly shifted. Matt, as you mentioned, you were hoping for that rope-a-dope, that second half intensity to come in very similar to Newcastle. I think we saw that right off the bat. But, I will say at 46 minutes, we had yet another warning shot where Alisson was again kind of at the scene of the crime. So at 46 minutes, you have, I want to say a misjudgment is what I will say, where there's an over-the-top ball to Marmoush. And then Alisson goes out for a clearance. Probably is lucky to have pulled out of the challenge, which could have sent him off for a red card there anyways. And then you had Szoboszlai combined to kind of clear. I just wrote down, lucky boy, Alisson. And also Marmoush should have done better there.
Yeah, he should have. But, I mean, I guess it was a sign that none of us knew at the time that Alisson's timing was just getting worse. So his timing for the 1v1 against Holland was excellent. And then in the second half, his timing's getting a little bit worse because he did not judge the pace on needing to come out and sweep that ball up very well. And then 40 minutes later, his timing is just completely gone and out of it. But I thought we did so good in the second half. We were saying at halftime, I was saying at halftime, like, if we just need to up the tempo, we just need to try to drive at them a little bit more. We were the awful passive attacking mindset in the few times that we did try to attack in the first half that we've seen all season. And that frustrates me. I can't speak for anybody else, but it frustrates the hell out of me. You've got a little bit of impetus, you've got even numbers or maybe even an odd man situation, and we're just so slow. Just attack them. They've got Matthias Nunes and Kusanov playing, in their defense. Go attack them. And in the second half, we came out with a little bit more impetus, a little bit more aggression. And I said to you guys, they're on the verge of shitting themselves here. Like, we just need to drive at them. This is not a prime City team. They are shaky. They will ship goals. We can score against them. And we just, it's so poor. Like, the attacking link up at the top of the pitch, and there's been a fair few people in the chat mentioning it, of just the paucity of danger that's caused by our wingers at the moment is just, it's absolutely killing us, because Hugo Ekitike is in a fine run of form right now, and he has to be just desperate for one of the guys to his left or his right to just help out a little bit. And we saw a little glimpse of it with Salah with that outside of the foot pass, something that we saw so many times last season. so many times last season of just having this incredible vision and ability to put a pass in a way that the defense can't quite anticipate. And that was one of the first times that I've seen it from him this year, where he's made one of those passes that is like, oh, incredible. There's very few players that can make that pass. And it really seemed like we were going to get the just desserts for how we came out in that second half. It looked like we were changing the approach and we were going to try to take the game to them. Yeah, and again, it's down to mentality. Like, I really think it's down to the mentality of these players, is a little bit of controversy or not being able to see games out, something that we were quite good at last season, and it's just gone. But there were signs there in the second half. In the second half was exciting to watch, at least. You know, Liverpool actually tried to go and do something and tried to win the game, and finding new ways to lose is impressive this far into a season.
Oh, yeah. It's a brand new way to implode every single time. I was going to get to this at the end, but I think Matt brings up a really good point, Kev. Do you think that there is a point where Slot needs to reassess this idea of sort of a stable, steady first half and then kind of upping the gear into the second half? Because, you know, as much as I understand kind of getting a hold of the game and sort of you know, fighting through the adversity and all those things, we're still wasting 45 minutes of a game at the end of the day. For me, I mean, I maybe calling it a waste is a little bit strong, but I would like to see us not limit our attacking threat to 45 minutes, because it feels like we're cutting, it's like we're on a timer, and we're cutting that timer in half deliberately. And yes, it does kind of allow us to be more defensively solid in the first half of games, but ultimately it puts the pressure on for our attackers in the second half of games. And at the end of games, we don't have fresh attackers to come on to help replenish this squad. So you're asking tired legs to come up with solutions at the end of games. And I think you see in a Florian Wirtz or a Hugo Ekitike that they are, yes, they can make it to 90 minutes now, which is fantastic, but they are flagging. Do you think that's something that Slot needs to reconsider?
I think it depends on the opponent you're taking on. If you're going to have an opponent who's going to be like Man City and Newcastle and go for your throat, then you got to try and pick them off. You have very little influence on what the opponent does. For 75% of games that you're going to play at Anfield in any season, you're going to completely dominate the ball. You're going to have 60% plus possession. Sides are going to be pinned back, and you're going to be able to play how you want to play. City had a big influence in how that first half was played. The way Semenyo pulled off the wing, gave him an extra man in the middle of the park. And you saw it when there were turnovers. The amount of times that we lost the ball in transition by staying on it for that extra few seconds, waiting for someone to open up for a pass, gets you into trouble. Now, yeah, you could have a case where you take the ball, you carry the ball, try to dribble past a couple of players, and then every chance you're going to lose it, and then you're opening yourself up to what we used to do to sides a lot, is the counter press. And you're out of position because you're telling people are saying, attack more, you're at home, as if that's some divine right to have something. It doesn't matter. If you go and take on Man City with wing backs or fullbacks who play as wing forwards and forwards who just stay forward, and you're trying to play through the middle of the park as if it's you're playing FIFA, you'll get picked apart, especially when they're fresh. And history tells you that, because they're however far ahead of us in the league. This is how these games have always kind of gone. These kind of games against City, even when we were at our pub, first halves we suffered. Second half is when we tended to come into games. You're not rewriting history here. This is kind of how most games against Man City at Anfield tend to go in first halves. It's second halves they open up, and football is 105 minutes. You can win it in the first, you can lose it in the first 20 minutes. It's very rarely that you're going to go and do what we did to Arsenal those years ago and score 3 and 4. It doesn't tend to happen. And we watch a lot of football up and down the league, week in, week out. It's very rare that you will see a side get blown away in the first 20 minutes.
Well,
so,
I mean, we arguably got blown away in the first half at City when we went to the Etihad.
That's what I mean. But that's almost like that sticks in your head. There isn't many other times in a season where you get two sides in the top six, top half of the table playing against each other. That happens. It's rare.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to kind of give a little bit of insight as to why Slot would have done that, why he would have been, passive isn't quite the right word, but I understand as a fan. Well, I understand as a fan why it would feel passive.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, we worked our socks off defending that first half, and it's weird. It's a weird way of having to play as well, because at times they had 5 players in the middle of the park, and you're talking Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Marmouche was dropping in, tucking in. You had Semenyo tucking in. These aren't poor players, and they were all looking to play off Haaland, not play through Haaland or play him in. They were all looking to play off him and make runs in behind. We had Gravenberch, McAllister, and Wirtz if he came back, and you had Kirk as man marking. So there isn't much space in there, and if you're looking to try to get out, you need time on the ball to let your players get up the pitch so you can play that ball, or you need someone to carry it. And if you're carrying it through that midfield with all of those bodies in it, it's a minefield. Second half is different. It opens up, tired their legs, tired their minds, and you're doing something different that they didn't expect in the second half. And it can work for you. But on the flip side, it can blow up in your face. Yeah. Really, I understand why he did. If he does that against Sunderland and invites Sunderland on, then you can say, yeah, big problem. That shouldn't happen against the Sunderland. Yeah. But against the City, with the quality that they have on the pitch, irrespective of what people think the season they're having, they've still got some serious quality on that pitch today. And look, credit where it's due, they were good in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have quality. They can still hurt you as much as they aren't in a good run of form. I mean, I think they had 1 win in 6 prior to coming into this. So it was quite an even run of form from us and from them, to be completely honest.
I think it was identical.
I think I might have been Matt at the beginning of the show that kind of said it's a poor City side, but it's also a poor Liverpool side. So it sort of evens itself out. We'll get back to that. And I think it's probably something we'll expand upon in our Patreon show. So for those of you that don't know, I'm going to pause this sort of halfway through the show and just let you know that over on our Patreon, link is right there. We are going to go into this, but probably with a lot more gusto and a lot more fervor. I know there's a lot of people in the chat that are looking for rage, and we promise that we are angry just as much as you are, and that we will go into that. This half of our post-match show is really dedicated to going through the incidents one by one, talking through pros and cons, touching on sort of key match incidents. Over on Patreon, over there, is where we're going to do sort of our rage, sort of our what happens to Arne Slot, what happens, with all of these mistakes, all of these points that we've dropped at the end of games. I mean, we currently have the record for points dropped from last minute goals now. It's a brand new record for Liverpool. So I promise we will talk about it. So yeah, click there. Just get that set up. We will be doing that in about 15-ish minutes. But before we do that, we're going to finish going through the game, Matt. I'm going to point you in the direction of a really good chance before we go to the goal. So the really good chance, I will let you do the goal too, because it's not really fair for me to dangle.
No, everybody's talking about the goal because
it's not fair for me to dangle the carrot. But first, before we do, I want to talk about the outside of the boot pass from Mo Salah to Ekitike, because that was almost the goal of the season right there. The pass from Mo Salah from the outside of the boot, and Ekitike, I mean, he has to score there. He has to score.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly want him to score. I don't know, there's a high level geometry class at university to go through how many revolutions were on that ball and how difficult it makes it to put that on goal, because there was, for an Egyptian, there was a lot of English on that ball that Mo put in there. Like that ball was really spinning. So I've never really tried to head more than about 3 or 4 soccer balls in my entire life, so I'm not going to be too harsh on Hugo. He was my FPL captain, so what the fuck are you doing, Hugo Ekitike? I really needed that from you. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier,
I had captained Holland, and I tried to jinx him.
Lucky you. like I said before, like that was the glimpse of last season's leading the assist chart most solid that we've seen. And it's been missing so much this year. You know, he was in a strange position, the fact that he was on the left side of the center of the pitch and playing that with the outside of his right foot. It was a glorious opportunity. And you'd like to see your striker put that ball away. He's doing all the right things. You know, he's heading it back from where it came from, trying to take, you know, Donnarumma's movement out of the equation. So yeah, you really want to see that go in, because it was one of the very few, it might be the only time, where our forward attacking players really linked up extremely well. And we were desperate for something like that to happen. Like, I thought that was the moment of magic that we were going to need to break the deadlock, because at that point, City didn't look the more likely to score. I think we kind of had the momentum in the game. And it was like, okay, yeah, here we go. You know, there's a nice little play. It went just wide. And it was like, you know, was that the chance? Is this game going to finish 0-0? And I mean, it definitely didn't finish 0-0.
No, it didn't. Look, you guys threw up this comment here from ACDC.
Yeah, no, I did, because
and that's okay. I'll address it. I'll address it because he says that Lucho was deadly and Richard Hughes sold him because he wanted to earn more than $55K a week. What a disgrace. Look, a couple points here. We have gone through this numerous times. So feel free to look back on our shows. We covered this, but key points here. First of all, Luis Diaz was not on 55,000 or 55K a week. That's widely been disputed by the club. He was on plenty of performance-based bonuses and things beyond that. Luis Diaz tried to leave the club twice. He tried to leave it the season prior to this and then tried to leave again this season. Luis Diaz was reaching his peak age. He was 28 going into 29. I think he might be 29 already. And he's gone to a league that is less physically demanding than the Premier League. There's no doubt about it. There's no way of sugarcoating that. You see it with Kwanzaa. You see it with Diaz. You actually hear players going there saying it's basically, it's so less physically demanding. So he looks fantastic there. We miss him 100%. We needed to replace him with a winger 100%. Rio is not that player 100%. Gakpo is not that player 100%. But please stop asking for Luis Diaz to come back, because we needed to sell him. It was a very good fee for Luis Diaz. He wanted to leave. So I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to go back to Matt because I promised I would go to the moment of magic of the game. There's not a lot of it. So we're going to the moment of magic for you. Just talk me through this Szoboszlai goal. I want to hear the whole thing, because there's not that many good things to talk about.
It's just, you cannot build in a laboratory a more beautifully struck free kick than that. The angle from the wide angle shot from behind Szoboszlai, where you can see the full curve of the ball, the fact that it curves like that, it goes around the wall and it kisses in off the outside of the post. It's incredible. It is, I think Bracky said it earlier in the show, that goal will be in the category of Daniel Sturridge's goal in the Europa League final.
That was better than the Arsenal goal.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those great goals in a game you fucking lose. So what is it really worth at the end of it, with the exception of giving us something magical to talk about? But you have to be a pretty dead inside Liverpool fan if you did not have an outward expression of visceral emotion watching that goal go in live. Kev, I know you did. I know that you made some sort of weird noise.
I think we all kind of squealed.
Yeah, we all did. We all did.
Kev, say your say on this.
The first thing I said to you guys was, it's probably just a tad far out. It's just a tad far out of his wheelhouse. And oh my days, look, that's as good a free kick as you're going to see with that technique. Now, my commentary were making the point that Donnarumma at the start of this asked for a two-man wall. That ball went right through where a third man would have been. He used Rodri as a guide to bend it to the right-hand side. He hits it so true. And you watch the actual strike, the way he kicks it, it's like most people kick a ball, their leg flies up in the air. He kicks it and he goes through it and he holds his foot probably 30 degrees after he strikes the ball. It keeps the ball down. The bend on it was ridiculous. Donnarumma was rooted. Didn't have a chance. And one of the best free kicks I've seen. It's one of the best free kicks I've seen.
Yeah,
Ever
live.
Full stop. It's one of the best free kicks I've ever seen.
I can't recall like that technique recently.
Ronaldo does it side foot, but Ronaldo
this was almost like a knuckleball. The way that he kind of hits it with the outside of the foot, and the way that because it was going straight toward Donnarumma, curved at the very last minute.
Yeah. Like Ronaldo hits it side on, center of the ball, just below, side on, and it dips. Szoboszlai hits it straight on, and whatever angle he hits it at, he cuts across it, but ever so slightly, because you try to cut across it too much, you get too much spin, it goes wide. He literally just tries to be as true as possible, and it will move. These balls do move, so it will move one way or the other. And the fact that he just got it to clip off the inside of the post and in, beauty, absolute beauty. That was at 74 minutes.
Yep.
And it's like 16 minutes plus injury time. What can you do now?
We'll walk through it.
Before that, Kushinov went off. I think it was before that. It might have been Kushinov went off, because that looked a real fucking nasty injury.
Yeah.
And just want to touch on it because Guardiola took the advice of his physio. His physio said absolutely no way. And, he made the change, brought on Ruben Diaz. But it was one of those that you want the Premier League to take action on this type of stuff. That decision cannot be in the hands of a manager. That decision for a concussion like that has to be in the remit of the physio, and there can be no repercussions for any decision that he makes. It has to be a medical decision. He was like a Looney Tunes cartoon, the way his eyes were rolling in his head when he was stood in the touchline. So look, he listened, fair play, but that's a side note. On the free kick, if you see a better free kick this season, I want to see it. I want to see it, because I don't think you'll see a better one.
Yeah, so that substitute with Kushinov was around the incident happened at 57 minutes, where there was a Gakpo shot off the ball, and Kushinov he went down with a collision with his own player, with Donnarumma, and it was a knee to the head. Like Matt said that right away. Oh, it was a knee to the head. And it was a bad one. And look, you have players that want to play on. They do. That's just in their nature. Every single professional player wants to play on. We saw Lindsey Vonn trying to go downhill ski with an ACL, and we saw how well that went. So, I wish her a speedy recovery. But sometimes medical advice does need to prevail. And whether it's a on-site doctor that is not related to either team, I think that's the way to go forward, to be completely honest, especially someone with head injury specialties. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think that it was wise that they took him off. I'm glad they did. We've seen other examples where that doesn't happen. I was going to make a witty kind of segue about losing heads, but that feels just like untasteful. So, but that's kind of where my head is. Look, around 84 minutes, Matt, Holland gets lucky off of deflection. There's no two ways about it. The deflection helps Holland out there. He's right on the edge of the box, and his header goes directly to Bernardo Silva. And it's a poacher's goal of the highest level. We've seen Bernardo Silva do this before. It's his third goal at Anfield. He has a knack of scoring important goals against us. And it was one of those things where, it's literally it's about 10 minutes after the Szoboszlai goal. You're on such a fucking high, and you're like, just see this out. Like, this would be enough. We have the points. And then we have, again, just basically an error that leads to a goal. Again, a different error this time. Brand new every time. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, when you see the deflection on the cross that comes in, it's like, fuck's sakes. Like, obviously, I think it goes off of what McAllister's ass or something like that, and then it just happens to fly to Holland to get the header on. I've seen a couple of people saying, Szoboszlai ran the gamut today in terms of scoring that goal and then being too deep and keeping Bernardo Silva onside. And
he's not a right back. He's not a fucking right back.
he's not a right back, but also I think it's pretty harsh to be like, you didn't hold the line properly when the ball takes a deflection like that. Because once that ball takes a deflection, you get that little microcosm of pure Scrabble football where everything's thrown up in the air because something that wasn't supposed to happen happened. It's chaos theory, I guess, to put it in mathematical terms, sort of thing. Like,
we're testing it hardcore this year.
Yeah.
We're pushing it to its limits.
A butterfly flaps its wings in the Amazon jungle, and Liverpool managed to throw away a fucking lead in the final 5 minutes.
It will be studied.
Yeah, it's like, I know he's not a right back. I don't know who else we put there. Bradley and Frimpong are both injured. Do you put Jones there so that you can use Szoboszlai in the midfield? I don't know. I don't even know. Like, does that alleviate?
I mean, that'll happen next week probably because there's no Szoboszlai, so we'll figure it out. It'll be maybe Endo. I don't know.
Gomez will make a miraculous recovery for us, but
Jesus Christ, is that what we're hoping for?
Yeah, it's just like it was the worst of all goals to concede. Like, of all players to score, you have the most rat bastard player in the entire league in Bernardo Silva scoring that goal. It's a heartbreaker. Like, it's a shitty piece of luck because the ball takes a deflection and then everybody's not quite switched on and it goes in. Like, it's a massive, massive bummer because I think up until that point, if you just ignore the first half, if we call the first half a wash, we were the better team in the second half. I think we deserved our lead. I think we looked good. But the way that Arne Slot set the team out after we got the lead, this sort of situation was always going to come up. And you just have to hope that the deflection takes the ball away from Haaland's head as opposed to onto Haaland's head. Or you have to hope that you're just pushed up enough that Bernardo Silva is that fraction of a shoulder offside. Or you have to hope that Alisson makes the save. But we shouldn't need to be hoping for that many things to go in our favor to just see a game through. Like I said in our little group chat that we had while the game's on, after we scored, the three of you two and Chris were saying of like, now we're going to sit back. And it was like, no, just take the handbrake off.
I didn't say sit back. I said, don't do a thing.
Just keep going forward.
I said, don't change.
Attack is the best form of defense.
Yeah. But we all knew that wasn't going to happen. We knew what was going to happen is exactly what transpired, which was go into your shell, drop everybody deep and just hoof the ball out and hope that we can get to the end line. And that's not good enough. It's not what I want from Liverpool. It's not what I want from my manager. I don't think it's what the players are going to want, especially seeing as how it turned out in the end. But yeah, it's just like, it's a stroke of bad luck. It's a stroke of bad play. It's a stroke of bad management. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal. Look, I mean, at some point, we talk a lot about luck. Slot talks a lot about luck, and I'm kind of sick of it, to be completely honest, because I do think that there comes a point where it's no longer luck and it's more defensive solidity, defensive shape, lack thereof of those things. If you are going to sit back, I just don't think that we are currently set up with enough players that are defensively minded to do that kind of action. So there's a reason why when we go forward, we look so great. Yes, we can kind of hold the ball in the middle of the pitch, but when it comes to truly sitting back, to truly kind of holding on to a lead, I don't know how many times we need to basically demonstrate that is not something this team can achieve, because it's just not. It's not something this team can achieve. Look, I want to get through this last little bit. We're going to try to wrap this up quickly because we're going to move on to Patreon, because we also have a late night show later. So that's why we're kind of buzzing through this week. Look, I'm going to walk through this, Kev. I'm going to give you what happens. I'm going to ask you for your reaction, and then I'm going to go back to me, I guess, because I've been like, just my mind has been blowing up with IFAB issues. So, okay. I honestly, I don't even know where to start. So let's talk about 7 minutes of extra time, and then we get to 90 minutes and we have this issue with Matheus Nunes. So Matheus Nunes is in on goal, and we have a situation where Alisson comes out. he makes no contact with the ball here. He goes through Matheus Nunes, and although Matheus Nunes got the shot off, and although he has no chance of getting to the ball in this situation, a penalty is given. Now, I'm going to preface this by, in years past, this has not been given as a penalty. It can be given as a penalty, but I want your reaction first to this. Do you think this was a penalty? Personally, I'm okay with it being a penalty, but it's not consistently called as such. This is one of those ones where it is called, it is impactful, it's in the 90th minute, and we have Haaland stepping up and getting a goal from it. So, reaction first to the penalty.
Yeah, it's pen.
Okay.
There's no arguments about it.
Okay.
He gets
the ball is in
touch.
play. He's not going to get to it, but that's not really important.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He gets cleaned out. It's a foul. And if that's the other way, you're hollering and screaming and throwing remotes at the telly. If that's not given, so yeah, that's a penalty. No doubt.
Okay. Same thing, Matt. You agree? It's not often called as such, but it is a penalty.
If it's not called as such, those are mistakes. Those are bad process, because that's just a pen. It's just a pen. Alisson just had a rush of blood to the head in the last minute to try to save the point, is what I think it was. And like I said, his timing just got progressively worse and worse and worse. And he got further away from the ball as the game went on. And by the time you get to the 97th minute, he's 60, 70, 80, 90 yards away from the ball. So his timing got really poor. It's just
right now he's at about 25% capacity, and he gets down to about 0 later. Okay, so we both agree that or we all three agree that yes.
Yeah, unless your name is Mo Salah.
Mo Salah's not getting that. But we've had this conversation in good process where you can give a penalty after the ball after you get a shot away. It's just not given very often. So. That's fine. We go down, and it is what it is. 94 minutes, you have Chiesa coming on. And there's basically a clusterfuck around 99 minutes. So I want to talk about, have you guys seen any replays of the Chiesa incident in the box in front of the cop, Matt?
Not a single one.
Okay, I haven't seen them either. I'm going to look at those in between shows just to kind of see. But as far as I know, as far as I've heard, there was no VAR review of the Chiesa penalty claim. Both him and Mo Salah were up in arms about it. He was taken down in the box. And again, that was around 98. I had 98.52. So 98 minutes and 52 seconds. That was when Chiesa was brought down in the box. And I assumed that VAR was going to check that. Now, at 99 minutes, so less than, 10 seconds later, we have a breakaway going in the opposite direction. So obviously Liverpool are throwing everything forward. Alisson's forward. All sorts of shit is happening. And we have a situation. I'm going to walk through it. I'm going to go to you guys for your reactions, and I'm going to come back to me for the VAR shit. So, ball goes forward. Haaland is in on goal, and Szoboszlai is the one that's chasing him back. There's nobody around. Szoboszlai makes, I would argue, a rash decision to pull back on Haaland. I mean, he's already losing. The game is already gone. There's no reason to pull back Haaland here other than just natural instinct. So he pulls back Haaland. Fine. The ball continues to go forward. That means the referee has played advantage. He did not whistle for that call. So the ball continues to go toward the net, and Haaland decides to then pull Dominic Szoboszlai back as the ball is going into the net. The ball goes into the net, and it's originally given as a goal. And then all hell breaks loose. So, without any sort of context, Matt, what was your reaction here? What do you think should have happened? Take out everything that I've said to you prior to the show starting. What do you think should have happened here?
Well, let's see if I can recreate my reaction to that. Because it was some of the most Looney Tunes stuff I've ever seen. Like, it was pure madness. How rarely you see the team throw the goalkeeper forward, and it's like Alisson Becker's coming up, and it's like, oh shit, here we go. And then they get the breakaway, and it's just like, don't pull him down. Just let him score. Like, just let him score. And then, it's the pull by Szoboszlai, and you're like, well, that's a red card. Like, that's a red card. And then it looks like Szoboszlai is going to clear the ball off the line. And then Holland pulls him back and the ball goes in the net. And at that point, my reaction is just let the goal stand. Just let the goal stand because it is 100% clear that Dominik Szoboszlai is going to miss the next match. I don't care about this game anymore. This game is over. We have lost. Just don't bother VAR reviewing it. So my initial reaction, so I'm watching it. And, City celebrating the goal. It says 3-1 on the screen. And my comms go, uh-oh, we have a twist here. And I had the briefest moment of oh, my God, it's a penalty at the other end. I thought that's what they meant by hold on a second. There's a twist coming here. I thought they were going to chalk that goal off, go all the way back, and give us a penalty at the other end to try to tie the game in the 99th minute or the 100th minute or something like that. But instead, it's not a goal. It's a direct free kick outside of the box. Dominik Szoboszlai will miss the match against Sunderland, and we lose the game anyways. And it's fuck, that kind of sucks. So I'm of the belief that
it's just a shit sandwich.
Yeah, it's wow, that couldn't have gone any worse. What's the difference losing 3-1 or 2-1? I'd much rather have Dominik Szoboszlai available. But my feeling was that if you're going to chalk the goal off and go back and start handing out fouls, then it should be a red card for Dominik Szoboszlai without question. Without question. That's 100% the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I would posit that maybe on good process, you're going to possibly look at whether Mark Gahey should have seen a red card for the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity.
We didn't even talk about that.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
All right, we'll talk about that on Patreon.
But my thinking was if you're going to chalk the goal off, give the red card to Szoboszlai correctly, then you should continue the thought process and give the yellow card to Erling Haaland for a very deliberate pullback on Dominik Szoboszlai. Haaland got a yellow for taking his shirt off after scoring. Bada bing, bada boom. Both players get sent off. The two, former teammates get to go and have a shower together. Apparently, a friend of ours who we have spent time in Liverpool with, who is a professional referee in the lower levels, says that after the red card foul by Szoboszlai, what happens after that vis-a-vis Haaland fouling Szoboszlai doesn't get looked at. So
unless it's violent conduct.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm curious about this. So, and I'm going to dive deeper on this. Kev, I'm going to read you the Premier League Match Center report. So it says on the VAR overturn. After the VAR review, the referee overturned the original decision of goal to Manchester City. The referee announcement, which nobody could hear, which was, appropriate because it was just an absolute clusterfuck, basically said, after review, there is a careless foul by Erling Haaland that pulls the shirt of Dominik Szoboszlai. Prior to that, Szoboszlai commits a holding offense that denies an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. The final decision is direct free kick to Manchester City and a red card. Now, give me your reaction really quick, and then I need to get back to the IFAB rules on this because it's important.
I'll be really quick. Look, I think the red card for Szoboszlai is right. Anything that happens after that, as far as I was concerned, once he issues the red card and it's not violent conduct, I'm like, yeah, okay, it didn't happen. The game stopped as soon as the red card was given. So, yeah, I understand where Matt's coming from, but look, I bow to your knowledge on what IFAB are saying. So let's see what that is.
Okay, so I'm not a professional referee. No. I cannot compete necessarily with our good friend. But look, so the IFAB rules, the one that I really want to point out here is the idea of advantage. So you guys have both pointed out that after the red card from Szoboszlai, anything else should basically be null and void. However, IFAB, which is the main kind of umbrella rule-making big head honchos, have basically put out that the referee can play the advantage in a red card situation. They specifically say, unless there is a clear goal-scoring opportunity for the non-offending team, the referee should not play advantage following a red card. But if there is a clear goal-scoring opportunity for the non-offending team, i.e. Haaland going in on goal, then an advantage can be played. So, referee plays advantage by allowing the play basically to continue after that pullback from Szoboszlai. They could have called it there. When they didn't call it there, that was allowing advantage. As soon as Haaland then pulls back on Szoboszlai, that becomes the next active foul. And that's the one that they are calling the no goal on. So that foul is active there. And therefore, Holland should be getting a second yellow card for that action. So it's correct to rule out the goal. It's correct to go back to Szoboszlai's denial of a goal scoring opportunity. It's a red card. It's a one-match ban because it's a tactical foul. It's not a violent or malicious foul. So yes, the red card should stand for Szoboszlai. But the key thing is, as the PGMOL have said, they ruled out the goal because of the Holland pullback. And if you're going to activate that foul, then that foul needs to be penalized as a second yellow card for Holland. He should get a red card as well. They should both go. The goal gets nullified. It's a direct free kick. Actually, I think it should be a direct free kick to us in the opposite direction because, again, it's the Holland foul. But we have kind of gone through this in great detail. I want to go through this in even more detail over on Patreon because, like I said, we're trying to kind of truncate these shows so that we can get over onto, we have our Sunday night show and everything. So we're going to go and do post-match quotes. I'm going to talk more about this random, stupid PGMOL bullshit. And we're going to go in on Arne Slot a little bit, on his tactics, on the team, on basically the lack of depth, all the things. Please join us. It's about the price of a cup of coffee. We have so many new people that are involved, and there's some people that are really, really going out of their way here to support us, and I want to appreciate it. So let's move over. And before we do, is there anything that you want to close with? Matt, I'm going to come to you first. On this note, Brian says you're a sexy beast. Do you want to close on that?
I mean, I would question a man who is that into cows in terms of gauging how much somebody is a sexy beast. He could just be pointing out my complete overabundance of nipples because that's the sort of thing that a milk farmer's into. So I know you like it, Brian. I know you do.
Any final thoughts on that, Kev?
Good God, no.
Top that,
Good God,
Kev.
no.
Top that,
No.
Kev.
All right.
No, definitely not.
Look, we're going to close this out here. We're going to need a few minutes to kind of set up the Patreon show because I think it might have gotten canceled because of the timing and everything like that. So give us 5-10 minutes. We're going to get that sorted out. And anyone here on YouTube, you're welcome to join us. If you're not going to come over to Patreon, thank you so much for being here. Feel free to leave a like or a comment or just, let us know what's going on.
One thing.
Yes.
If you are listening live and you are an audio-only Patreon subscriber, Gav has made the upcoming show, the Rants and Awards show, available on video to everybody that subscribes on Patreon. So if you're watching this show and you're an audio-only Patreon subscriber, you will get the video for this one. So please come and join us.
and yes, there's a couple of people in here who are asking us to talk about Gakpo and other people. I promise we're going to talk through them all. We're going to go through all the players. It'll be great. So we're going to close out here. We will be back with another free YouTube show later this evening. So keep your notifications on. The guys will be back with, our normal kind of Sunday night live show. So that'll be there. And we're going to be over in Patreon in, like I said, about 5 to 10 minutes. So
5 minutes.
We will see you over there. And thank you again so much. Reds kind of suck, but up the fucking Reds anyways.
Yeah.
See you guys.